Welcome. Today is the 24th of March, 2017. This is the State Charter School Board meeting. Welcome to board members. Welcome to guests who are here. We will start by having the Pledge of Allegiance. We are really grateful today. We are upstairs and we do have a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the board chair report, I just wanted to say we're very sad today. Rob Enger has resigned and stepped down from our board, so he will no longer be on our board, and we hope that we can get him back for a plaque and a proper thank you, but we want to thank him for his service. He's done a great job and been a great asset to our board, so he will be sorely missed. Also, I wanted to thank you as board members and staff for the 3 emergency meetings that we had to have in the end of February. I know they were last minute and everyone had to make arrangements and change schedules, and it speaks to your dedication as board members. Thank you so much, and thank you to staff. And a special thank you to Delana, who had the opportunity to chair some of those meetings since I was out of the continental United States. And anyway, just thank you everyone for your efforts. I know this is a volunteer board, and that was a lot to ask of each of you in your personal lives, but everyone stepped up and really appreciate it. Okay, moving on. The consent calendar. Has everyone had a chance to look at the consent calendar? Do we have a motion? Any questions or a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar. What? Oh, Delana. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Dean seconded it. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're okay. Okay, that passes unanimously. We do have one person signed up for public comment. Dave Castleton. In the past, we've kept the public comment to 3 minutes, and we'd like to do that today, but we are happy to hear from Dave Castleton, who has signed up for public comment. He's from Price Logistics Center in Draper. Dave.
Or just right now, you can accept additional.
It's up here.
Or just ask.
Okay.
They don't have physicals.
Okay. David.
Use the mic.
At this point, we're not planning on taking public comment during that agenda item, so you're welcome to speak now. That would be great.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Is your mic on?
Push the button.
There you go. And
on
please,
now?
yep, and please introduce yourself.
My name is Dave Castleton. I represent Price Logistics Center Draper, LLC, the developer and owner of the business park to the south of the American Preparatory Academy. Appreciate the opportunity to take just a couple of minutes here and share some of our concerns. We did submit a written response to the letter provided to you by the American Preparatory Academy in the past, or we've understood that there's been some other material provided to you which we have not seen. We don't know what it is. But because of our concerns the last time we were here when Howard Headley was the chair, we were concerned that he tried to stop us from presenting the other side, and we want to make sure that you are able to hear both sides. We recognize that you have information that we don't have, and this has been presented to you even as early as this morning in the Salt Lake Tribune. There was an article where your executive director was quoted as providing information to the newspaper that has not been part of any public hearings. And we're hoping that some of that information wasn't that it's wrong, that it was maybe by the media that got it wrong rather than your executive director. But some comments were made about the APA in this situation that were not right. We can respond to written or oral presentations that we're aware of, and we've had to do this in numerous venues in the court, here, and other governmental agencies. We have found in the past that the American Preparatory Academy has been very good to tell you a sad story about the development, about their development and the traffic problems that they have claimed that occur there. As stated in our response to Mr. Rampton's letter, the representations in that letter are simply not true. If you choose to believe them, then and decide to exercise eminent domain authority, then we will have to prove them in court, which we are prepared to do. Our experience is so far that APA, the American Preparatory Academy, has lost in every venue because they can't prove what their claims are. They make them in the media, they make them to the parents, they make them to the teachers. But rather than act precipitously, we encourage you as a governing board to verify the statements that they make. And by verify, I don't mean ask Howard Hedley or the APA management. Ask Draper City, the State Office of Education, the fire marshal, even the parents and the neighbors in the area as to what they have told them. We can prove that the American Preparatory Academy has not been honest with any of these parties in the development of their Draper campus. They committed to Draper City, to the State Office of Education, to the fire marshal, that they would have a self-contained site plan with no access to the south. You don't have to take our word for it. It's documented in their records. APA wants to make you think that, or in the public think, that this is an urgent issue and it's necessary for the immediate safety of the kids. We also have evidence this is not true. It has nothing to do with the safety of the kids. The reason APA is here is because they told Draper City and the neighbors on both sides of their property in public hearings less than a year ago that they had a way to solve their problem. And in their property, and they had a design that would work, not only for their current campus, but for a high school. Based on their representations, a plan was adopted. Subsequent to the plan being adopted, they started construction on a high school without the necessary permits. They also failed to provide the agreed upon improvements so that access and the traffic concerns would be resolved. When they were about to be shut down, they told the regulatory bodies, okay, we'll follow the rules. However, at the exact same time they were telling the regulatory bodies that they would follow the rules, they've been telling others that they have no intention of complying and doing what they said they would do.
30 seconds.
It's our hope that this board will act responsibly and investigate the facts and not rely on the representations of one party. The number of people that are paraded through here and other venues we've seen, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. In fact, many of those will have no knowledge of the actual facts. I think you'll find that this is not a matter of safety of the kids. They want to run kids and high school kids through an industrial development with many, many tractor-trailer traffic. The real solution is on their own property. It's self-contained, and the developers there. They're the ones that are profiting from this venue. It's not a matter of safety of the kids, but the amount of the profit that the developers, including the Forest Corporation, make. If you read our presentation to you, you will see in more detail those details.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. Bruce Baird.
Thank you, members of the board. Madam Chairperson, my name is Bruce Beard. I've been retained recently as co-counsel for APA to talk about this issue. I don't intend to get into a lengthy debate. I just saw Mr. Castleton's letter yesterday late afternoon. Mr. Rampton is here, and he will talk about some of those issues as well. going to avoid any ad hominem attack or anything else because I'm frankly not fully up to speed. I would indicate to you that it is the position of APA, first of all, that it is a nonprofit, of course, and there's not a profit to be made here. We believe that a case can be made to you and has been made to you that it would be appropriate for you to exercise your eminent domain authority, assuming that the Attorney General's office determines that you have eminent domain authority to assist in condemning some access onto a public road. I understand there's a long-running dispute about the public road. I can tell you that I've read a development agreement with the predecessor from Price from the 1990s that indicates, for example, that at the time that the development that is now the Price development was being contemplated, there's a specific provision that says later when the forest property, which is now where the school is located, is developed, that the city will ensure that the, quote, the other half of the road is constructed. Well, the other half of the road would be the half of the road that would connect onto the school property and would join onto that road. So there would be access over that. There is, of course, a companion dispute about whether there is currently access over that road. As you know, Judge Chon has ruled that the school itself does not have authority. So we're trying to figure out who has authority. It's either you or it's the State Board of Education. And as the Charter School Board, we think it's you. If the Attorney Generals disagree, then we'll go to the State Board of Education and ask them. But other than that, again, I don't want to get into a line-by-line response to Mr. Castleton's letter. I do believe that, as usual in these kinds of historical things, there are two sides to every story, and I do hope that if you decide that if it's determined that you have the authority to condemn, that we can have a full presentation to you of all of the issues related to why you should vote to condemn at that point. I don't think, obviously, that this time of a 3-minute public comment period with no time at the 2 o'clock is the time to do so, but we would welcome the opportunity to have a full and fair presentation for both sides. Otherwise, I'll be quiet and I'll let you move on to your agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Vince Rampton? Yeah, Vince Rampton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vince Rampton, representing American Preparatory Academy. Despite the charges and accusations that have been made against me and against my client by Price Logistics, I also don't want to spend my 3 minutes getting into a shouting match. I do want to point out a simple fact. This is a fight over getting children into a public school over a strip of land this wide. It's been going on now since the beginning of 2015. I would suggest that this board is charged first and foremost with the well-being of students at a charter school, not with the financial advantage of a developer or turning a public road into a private driveway. Please consider very carefully your responsibility under law. I agree with Mr. Baird that if this body does not have the authority, we have to go to the State Board of Education. We're willing to do that. But please consider your responsibility and consider what's been presented to this body. It's been suggested we can't prove our claims. We've produced a traffic study that's been part of your record for over a year now, establishing the need of this access point. We've had testimony from traffic engineers presented before now. We don't have to go over it all again. What's been presented is persuasive, and it needs to be done. Please help these people get this school finished and operational. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That ends our public comment portion of the meeting. We'll move on to the next agenda item. The school spotlight today. We're excited to have Beehive Science and Technology Academy here, and also Carl G. Mazer Preparatory Academy. And we will start with, Jennifer.
So I just want to introduce these schools and why we're spotlighting them. These schools last year had a 100% graduation rate, and that rate is the federal four-year completion rate. So it's actually quite significant that they were able to get that, graduate all students who started in the 9th grade. And they both are here that they can present. I guess Beehive can come up first. And so thank you.
Thank you. Beehive Academy, if you would come up and introduce yourselves.
So first, I just want to thank you for letting us come here today. My name's Marie, and I'm the president of this school board. Beehive's mission is that every student will achieve personal and academic efficiency and excellence, and that we will do that in a innovative, challenging, diverse environment. And as you can tell, we've got diverse and challenging. They'll show you that as well. And we do this in a caring school environment where each of our students are recognized for their individual, unique, recognized and appreciated. And I have this actually written down. By their unique identity and appreciated by peers and dedicated faculty members. So here's a few things that we would like to point out. Beehive was recognized 57th best public school in the U.S. for serving underrepresented students. We also achieved our platinum level STEM designation by the STEM Action Center and USBE. We were also Charter School of the Year by UAPCS in 2016. And I'm going to turn the time over to our school director, Mr. Auguste, who's going to tell you about some of our programs that helped us get played into this 100% graduation rate.
First of all, thank you. We appreciate giving opportunity to come and share these facts about our schools with you. And I have my faculty members, some of our faculty members and some of our students and another board member here with us. So we'll be going through some of our programs and not going into the detail in the light of time, but at the same time in the answering and question session, we'll be happy to answer if you have any questions about specific programs or anything else. So Beehive Academy challenges its students to discover their potential through college prep programs, and we provide lots of guidance and support programs so that they are able to be college and career ready when they are out of the high school. So how we do those, we have lots of enrichment and support programs in place, and lots of clubs, activities that each students have a chance to be part of, and whatever their needs are, we identify with as a team, and our dedicated staff really provides free tutorings, free kind of home visits, supports, lots of one-on-one peer mentorship, and lots of other programs. I mean, it's just every student's needs are identified, and depending on those needs, they are provided some guidance, support, or teaching. So Sahana is here. She's going to be talking about some of those programs with you. Come on, please.
So like our principal said, our school does have a lot of support and enrichment programs. One of the programs that we offer is we have tutoring for every single class after school at what we call our club times. Club times are about 40 minutes, and students can either be part of a club, which I'll get to later, or they can go to a teacher in which class they might be a little bit behind or may need a little bit more help, and they can work on some homework and get some guidance. We also have lots of clubs for students that want to excel or advance. We have 3 different robotics teams. We also have our Technology Student Association, which is a research club, or TSA. We also have our National Honor Society, or NHS, and we also have Student Council and many other clubs. I myself am a part of Student Council, TSA, and National Honor Society.
we have student recognition programs designed in a way to encourage all the students to learn and reach to their potential. So in each of those categories, we really put goals for our students, and we track with the help of our dedicated staff, and we try to make sure that those students are really working towards those goals, and once we see they are achieving those goals, they are recognized with various ways like prizes and certificates and lots of other ways that we recognize them. We really use those motivational factors so that they reach to their own potential as a self-guided learners. And part of our college prep programs, we provide for all the high school students free SAT and ACT prep courses. It's part of our curriculum, as well as other like support programs around that. And Ms. Firmich, our ACT, SAT teacher, is right with me. She's going to say a few words.
Thank you. We have an ACT, SAT prep class that for our juniors is a required elective, so that each week they have 2 days of language instruction, 2 days of math instruction, and then 1 day of college preparatory instruction, such as learning how to apply for scholarships, learning how to apply for FAFSA, learning how to apply to a college. Many of our students' parents have not been to college, and so this is all new to them. And we feel like having this support and just teaching them what they need to do and how they need to go about it is incredibly effective. I, as a language arts teacher, really appreciate that those extra 2 days every week that I get to teach specifically to taking the ACT and SAT tests, because I think it really helps our students achieve better scores. And we also encourage them to take the ACT more than once. So.
We also have CT career pathway programs in our school. We have started with 3 of those: information technology, web development, and digital media. We are trying to ensure they are college ready, but some of those students that they want to work and have, join into the workforce, being a STEM school, we feel like they need to have those technology skills, and we provide them industrial certification as well. So those students are out and ready to join workforce as well, and they can continue their college education with that as well. So we have concurrent enrollment and AP programs in place, and we encourage all of our students to benefit from those. And I have here Heather with me. She's going to share a few words with you.
Thank you. I will be talking about the concurrent enrollment programs and the AP classes that we provide at Beehive Academy. I currently have this year 18 college credits from Salt Lake Community College. And this provides us the experience of college to prepare us for our furthered education in universities or smaller community colleges. And this helps in more ways than just providing us with the experience. It prepares us for what's ahead.
We also have college nights, college days, and we invite college representatives into our school, and we have lots of college visits as well, because we want our students to be able to go and see the colleges and have first-hand experience so that they can be motivated as well as engaged and get ready for those colleges and programs. Some of those, like in-state colleges, as well as we have been to the Boston, Northern California, Southern California, Nevada, and other states too. So we take our students, and during this spring we'll be having one into the New Mexico, one into the Northern California as well. So we have another engaging mentorship program in our school. We call it CMLP. It's College Mentorship and Leadership Program. It really engages students in a way that we assign students to our staff, and those staffs work through high school with those students individually and ensure that they are getting college ready and career ready, and there are lots of components involved in that. And I'll ask Mrs. Kaplan here, our mentor teacher, to say a few words, and Madison, our students, to say a few words about that as well.
Thank you for having us here. I am a mentor in CMLP program, College Mentorship and Leadership Program. This is an after-school program. We meet weekly with our assigned students. And the first thing that we are doing, we are studying for SAT and ACT. We have winter break, spring break, and fall break where our students are taking SAT, ACT practice tests. And then we keep track of our students' development on that. In addition to that, we are taking our students' work for Congressional Award. Madison here, she's going to explain what Congressional Award is because she got a gold award from that.
Thank you. So for my award, there's bronze, silver, and gold. So there's 3 for certificates and medals. I've won all of them because with Mrs. Kablan's help, I've won like every single certificate and medal. To get them, you have to do 400 total volunteer hours, a lot of personal development, physical fitness, and you have to go on a total of 2 trips overnight. And you have to plan this all by yourself. You cannot get help by a mentor. The only thing the mentor can do for you is help you like plan it out, but you have to specifically do it on your own. This year in June, I'm going to Washington, D.C. to get my award for my gold, and then it'll be presented in our school. Thank you.
In this Congressional Award program, in the folders that we provide you, there are some sample copies of those, and it's provided by the United States Congress, and in our school, more than 30 awards has been already received, and this year itself, we have 4 gold medals, which requires 3 years of study. It's not like easily you get it, so 3 years consistently, those students study to get those, and we have lots of other silver, bronze level, and all these different congressional certificates, awards, and medals. And medals are provided at the Washington, D.C. by the Congress, and these students are going to travel to receive their medals over there. We also wanted to provide lots of field experiences to our students so that they really know what the industry is expecting them. Being a STEM school, we feel like, they need to be having those skills that they can really use those in the jobs that they are going to take in the future. So we have developed relationships with lots of businesses. More than 20 businesses are our business partners, and we have internship opportunities with, at least with the Zions Bank and some other industries. I Am Flash and Vivinstar and the Zions Bank are some of our business partners, and we have, of course, partnership with more than 20. And we really invite them to come and talk to our students. We take our students to their places, and we have, paid internship programs as well. So it's really a great way to engage students that they know what the real professional life is expecting from them. So I have here Mrs. Kargi. She is our board member, and she really is instrumental in those programs, going to say a few words. And I have Pedro here, our student. He's going to say a few words as well.
Hello, my name is Pedro Martinez, and last year I had an internship with Zions Bank. My experience with Zions Bank was exemplary. I learned skills which I could not only use in work, but I could also use in my personal life as well to improve my quality of living. Also, my experience there can not only apply to even the science field of work, but also anything that I want to go into or that I can achieve. So thank you.
Great. I'll just add a couple of more words to what Mr. Ogus and Pedro said here. Like partnering with the corporations today helps the STEM school to understand the directions that they have to take in modifying their curriculum, especially when it comes to the computer science and other technology courses. So that's been a huge beneficiary. We still look for more opportunities every year to partner with the corporations and see the directions the students need to take. And other than what they talked about on the CMLP, if you are wondering how are they able to do so many things within the school time, definitely those are not done in the school time. The teachers and the staff members take their personal time on Saturdays to meet with the students on the college mentoring programs. I'm the parent. I have both my daughters in the school. I thoroughly enjoy and then appreciate the time and the efforts they all put into it. Definitely it helps the students that college is definitely an option for them to seek. I was involved in one of of the study where when the high schoolers were interviewed to understand why they are not able to make it till the college, it's because of all the different things they need to focus during the high school. These kind of programs helps those students, okay, college is an option. It's possible if you start planning early around. So just wanted to end my speech there and pass it on to Mr. Ogus.
Thank you. We are a STEM school, and we do have lots of STEM curriculum and programs in place, and we do organize like a big STEM Expo event, and we are the main organizer of that event. And I just wanted to highlight that it's not like just one single program. It's all through. Even our language art programs are involved with this STEM skills and all those. I have Caden here with me. He's a middle school student, and he's going to say a few words about our STEM programs.
So every student at our school gets to do STEM in some way, and every year we all have a STEM project like this one for the STEM Expo. But also, like, even the curriculum, every class you learn about STEM, and it's all based around STEM, so we get to learn all those skills that are helpful for those types of careers.
His project for this year was a robot solving the Rubik's Cube. And it's just going to be a minute or two, I think, once it's ready. And he's going to kind of give a quick demonstration to you, if you don't mind. He is part of our Lego Robotics team, and our Lego Robotics team was the state champion and going to the Texas to the world event, and it's going to represent Utah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. We'll be happy to answer if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you to the students who came. I finally figured out a way I can do a Rubik's Cube. Very nice. So thank you. Any questions from the board? Lena?
I just have a quick comment, Director Oguz. You make it sound so easy. You identify students' needs and fill them. I want to recognize the hours and hours of mentorship and leadership and support that have gone into creating the awards and the student culture that you have at your school, and to commend you all for your hard work. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you. We have an award we'd like to present to you and
Thank
take
you.
a picture. So I'm coming back there, Delana and I.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take a picture. Yeah, let's get a picture, everybody. Come in.
Thank you. Can I have one from our school?
Want to have a race with that machine? You against the machine?
Thank you. Congratulations.
I want to live long enough to have a robot.
Okay. Carl Mazer, Preparatory Academy, if you'd like to come up.
That's fine. It's just kind of a, whatever. I'm hoping that doesn't, that doesn't look like the right one. That doesn't? Will you flip to the next? Nope, that's not the right one. You can just leave it on there. You don't have to flip through.
Is that a wrong one?
Yeah, it's the wrong. Rebecca, you can just leave it there. We won't flip through. It's the wrong one. It's okay. I'm Robin Ellis. I am the director of Mazer Prep Academy.
And I'm Cynthia Shumway. I'm the founder and chair of the board at Mazer Prep right now.
Thanks for allowing us to come and present. We're both pretty passionate about Mazer and all of the things over the last 10 years that have happened and that are continuing to happen. We are excited that our graduation rate was 100% last year. One of those things we feel like led to that is back to our founding and our mission and the fact that it's a classical liberal arts focus. We focus on the, the true, the good, the beautiful, all of those things, and moral character and how that helps them to become better citizens. And so they become part of the community. It's not just a school. It truly is a community, and most will say it's really just one big family. And with every family, you have growing pains and you have challenges, but you also you celebrate those successes, and the kids are amazing. The things that places they've come from and the places they're going, they're truly going to change the world. And part of that, I think, we just have a little piece of that, and the classical education has helped them blossom into great citizens. Today, or this month, is Service Month, so today our kids, while we were coming up here, they were actually in a service activity, and so we didn't bring any of our kids today. I did put on the other slide, if you look at our retention and our transfer rates, the retention rates have gone up and the transfer rates have gone down over the last 5 years, especially have trended. I think that has a lot to do with we are getting a lot of legacy families. A lot of them are returning. Now I have alumni who are coming back and applying for teaching positions. And so we had our first, last year, math teacher was a Mazer graduate. And so that was really fun to have her kind of see that full circle and to give back. I have 3 alumni myself, and my final one is in her freshman year. And when they talk about their school, it's that loyalty. They're always wanting to know what's going on, and when they come back into town, what can they attend? What play? We went to a play last night. One of them went with me. When they come in from Idaho, it's okay, what game? Who can I go support? What teacher can I go visit? And it's nice for them the teachers to see that feedback as well. But that graduation rate, though it's nice, it doesn't just start that senior year. We found it really starts a lot earlier, and it was a couple years ago that we added the 7th and 8th grade when we moved into this building. It wasn't always this building. And so that graduation starts in the 7th grade. But it's really a journey. It's not that destination. This is just their first step to many, many things. And we just get to kind of be their launching pad a little bit. And part of that is that empowerment and that inspiration, which is part of our mission, for them to think deeply about things and to communicate effectively so that they can be that voice for good in the world, and that they always continue to learn. I learn new things from them every day. I learn new things from my own children every day. And I hope that they realize that it's not just checking the box, that it's truly, they empower them to take charge of their education and to do things that nobody's ever done before. To ask those hard questions and not just to read for the sake of reading, which is great, but read to, what am I learning for this and how am I going to contribute back? To choose honor, that honor, there is still honor in the world, that there's still truth in the world and virtue, and that they can choose that, and it is a choice. And we hope that they make those choices.
All right, so as Robin mentioned, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out to Michelle, who was part of our founding and gave us some of that foundation right from the beginning. But we always say we build a school before we build a building. For many years, those of you that have been around know we were known as the bowling alley school. And while that might have seemed a bit ghetto or something for a while, it actually was a real gift. And it allowed us to really, maybe fail fast and learn from those things and course correct and develop our culture. So as we reflected on, why did we have this success last year and how do we sustain it? We really feel like it contributes to those aspects. So early on, we learned that we were college prep school and we should hire college professors, and we really found out quickly that often doesn't suit for a high school setting, and that they might not have the same regard for after classroom time because that's not what they came from, things like that. We found that our 9th graders were really struggling depending on where they came from and how prepared they were. And we didn't want to lower the bar, and so we really, we talked a lot about, well, what can we do? How can we help this move forward? And Robin alluded, we added 7th and 8th grade, and it was really a thoughtful thing. So we kind of call this out in a few phases of what helps us be successful. We think it's our culture that we're building and continue to build, and it's a culture of continuous improvement. We feel like our biggest risk is complacency, to think that we've arrived somewhere, because we haven't. This is a journey, and we can learn from others. I learned from listening to Beehive just now, right? There's things we can learn from others and constantly improve. So when we started 7th and 8th grade, our idea was that we need to nurture them. We need, before it gets into high school, before it counts, we need them to know that it's cool to be smart, and to nurture them, to help teach them skills and habits to be successful. So we don't have to lower the bar. We can raise the bar by helping them be ready for it. So we added programs in like SOAR that the Utah State developed, which teaches them accountability and responsibility, and they get binders, and all the teachers are trained in it as well, so that it's helping the students, instead of thinking that they can, oh, I forgot to turn it in. Well, whose responsibility is it, kind of thing, to teach them those skill sets and to use planners and to be organized, to be accountable, to start teaching those virtues to them. And then we move in the 8th grade and start teaching values-based leadership principles, making allowances for individual differences, forgiving, humility, courage, resilience, and we try and emphasize those things. And then it's really about, how do I take care of myself? How do I belong here, and how do I succeed, and why wouldn't I want to be the best me I can be, and how do we resist those other temptations and peer pressure and what might be the norms. And then we move into our high school era, and we really try to then apply these things, to remind them of these things, these skills that we've taught, but we expect a little more from them. We've taught them, we've given them this tool set. Now we expect them to use that tool set and to move forward and provide opportunities. One of the things that we've really tried to track and challenged our student council is, Are we doing things, are we just doing things that everybody does? Are we doing things to make sure that everybody has a place and has something to excel in? And so we're measuring, and 85% of our students at this point participate in at least one area of extracurricular activity. And we feel that that's a big part of becoming part of this community. So that next step is, now I'm not just responsible for me, but I am part of this Mazer community, and how do I contribute and how do I excel there? And then we move on to the idea is that in their senior year, we've developed senior seminar, and I'll have Robin talk about this a little bit, and last lecture. The idea is that we've provided you this tool set. Now go forth and conquer the world, and you can contribute regardless of where you are, whether it's in, your new housing with 6 new roommates, or wherever you end up, that you can contribute, you can lead, and you can live those values. They're honored. You can choose honor, truth, and virtue in all that you do. Another area where we feel like makes a big difference is our community. Our community really is everyone. It's a collaboration with the faculty, administration, the board, the students, and the parents. And it's also one of our challenges. As we've grown, it's a challenge to keep parents engaged as they were in the early days. It's a challenge, to make sure we balance the homework load, to make sure students can support each other in those activities. We really try and do intervention. One of our successes is how administration and the team, and not just administration, it's the faculty as well, very engaged and aware of how the students are doing. And so we do early intervention and help them get there, so it's not from lessons learned senior year, you're not going to graduate, what are we going to do about it? One of the things we try and do there is make sure that we're focusing on mastery versus perfection. So you may have someone who does all their homework diligently, but they go take a test and they bomb it. Maybe they're not a good test taker. So do we just move on to the next subject, the next topic, or do we help them master that? And so giving them opportunities to course correct and learn from their mistakes and master the skills so that they can continue to succeed.
She mentioned some of those senior things. I do senior exit interviews with all of them, and one of the questions I love to ask them is, if you could go back to your 7th grade self or your 9th grade self, what would you tell yourself and why? And almost all of the time, they said, I wish I would have participated more. I didn't realize that I could balance those things. At that, it wasn't a priority, but now I realize it should have been a priority, and I would highly recommend. And so we have them go into mentoring classes and tell them the stories and the lessons that they've learned, which is great. They always say, I wish I would have participated more in the discussion. I had one that just recently said, I read the books, but now I'm going back and rereading, like the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid from my 9th grade year, because I realize with the things that I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years, now I have this whole different perspective, and I want to read it from a different lens. And it's those that the teacher's like, oh, that's kind of the pat on the back. Now you want to read something for fun, which is exactly what what we want. We want them to be in charge of their education. And so we had a directed readings class, and just the discussion that built upon the principles and values that they've learned all along, and it went into this deep, meaningful, how to pay it forward. It was so rewarding just to listen and kind of be the fly on the wall with the things that they came up with. The last lecture is an assembly we do that every senior writes kind of their last lecture. And then, of course, due at a time, the senior Socratic teachers have to pick kind of the top 10. They have to present in class, and then we kind of pick out of the top 10. They get a panel, and then they present to the whole school. It's one of the most meaningful. I don't think I've probably had a dry eye in the last 4 years since we started this, of their learning, their pay it forward, their lessons learned. It's just meaningful, and what they want their last legacy at Mazer to be, and they want everybody to know. And from the 7th grade, I mean, it's impactful. They talk about it, and we publish it in our last magazine of the year so that we have those as a lasting legacy as well. And then we share those things, or I get to share those things at graduation with the parents. So it's really meaningful and rewarding to me. But I think the biggest reward is to see what an impact it has been for them. And that's the difference. I didn't earn the graduation rate, they did. But it's nice to have those accolades. Our ACT scores have gone up every year and are above the state and national averages. The College Board metrics for those that are ready for college work, they're all above the board, all of the averages. But one of the meaningful things that I like to give the feedback for the board and the parents are what our alumni are saying. Not only from the senior exit interviews, but, you know, I pulled a couple quotes from the alumni survey we did from last year. One of them said, "I feel I was very well prepared for my freshman year and beyond. My roommates asked me for help on all of their writing, and I'm able to actively participate to further my education and excel." I had a student tell me 3 days ago she's home. She had gone out of state. Her teacher said, "Your high school prepared you for everything we're going to be doing here. You need to move on now. We can't help you anymore." And in fact, invited her to be a TA and help grade papers for her, because she's like, "You could probably teach me more than I can teach you at this point." And she felt really good and empowered to kind of take that next step in her life. But it is a process. We've never arrived, and I think that's the one thing that keeps us humble. Is we yearly review that curriculum. We every department, what lessons did we learn this year? What can we do better? What are those things that worked really well? And sometimes it's the dynamic of the class, and sometimes it's the curriculum. But we're always adjusting and getting feedback from the parent community, from the student community, from the faculty side. It's a great place to work, but it's also from the parent side, it's a great place to have my children. And I hope that we're making a great impact in the community as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Delana.
I just want to commend you as well on your self-improvement, the culture of improvement that you've created at the school. It seems to me that that's a nice template for your students to be able to follow, to be self-determined and contributing members of society, which seems to be your goal. And it seems that the practical application of that is a lot harder than the theoretical framework surrounding that. I know all the research that's based on self-determination, and you are doing an excellent job of implementing that, and you're to be commended for it, not just for your graduation rate, but for the skill set that you're giving those students after they walk across the graduation stage. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I have a lot to be proud of. We'd like to present you with their certificate and get a picture, if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's always an enjoyable part of our meeting, to hear some success stories and hear how they're doing. We're now going to move on to the next item on our agenda, committee reports and action. The Authorizing and Amendment Committee, our committees met for the first time today. I'd love your feedback on that. We can do that offline. But I thought, it's an interesting, good way to get into some depth maybe that we aren't able to in a board meeting. And so hopefully you felt that way as well, and we'll see. But Bruce, would you give us a report from your authorizing and amendment committee?
Yes, I think we had a very productive initial meeting today, and we had good participation from committee members as well as some very helpful public comment. The committee is, and I don't know if this is premature, but the committee was favorably disposed and would recommend approval of the current application process and suggestions for improvement. The application forms for amendment, expansion, replication, satellite, 2017 proposal and the 2017 new school, the startup and implementation grant proposal, and a requirement for training of new applicants. And I'm not ready, I don't know if that's ready for a motion yet, but
It's appropriate to take action. It's been noticed on our agenda.
The one thing we aren't ready to move forward with is the charter amendment form and process. We would, and we could do this in a separate motion, but we recommend that that be deferred for at least a month so that we can get additional public comment and awareness of what we're doing there.
Okay. Do you want someone to make a motion then, and we can vote on what? Bruce will make the motion. Okay.
So then I will make the motion that we approve the current application process and suggestions for improvements, the application forms, amendment, expansion, replication, satellite, 2017 proposal on the 2017 new school application form, the startup and implementation grant proposal, and the requirement for training of new applicants, making that mandatory.
Okay. Okay, great. We have a motion by Bruce and a second by Michelle. Any discussion to the motion? Yes?
Thank you, Chair. We had discussed with the application forms that to hold that back. So just to make that clear, I don't know if that's a separate motion. So maybe I don't know that I can make that. But there's been a lack of transparency and letting other people have input outside of the board, having access to the changes before we go ahead and make the changes. And I think to build trust and transparency on the charter school board side, it would be applicable to put those forms on the website and notice it of the public that they're up there for a month. And we're suggesting this only because we've seen in the past where we have a week's time or 5 days time, and the public doesn't know about that, and so they come up here off-guarded with limited idea of what changes have been made. And so to be fair to all parties involved, we ask that the application forms be withheld for a month so that the public does. You're shaking your head. No.
If I may, my recollection is there was urgency on the application form, as not a lot of controversy, so we wanted to move that forward.
Okay.
We did want to, and particularly since there's not a lot of urgency associated with it, we did want to defer action on the charter amendment form and process.
That's the one.
Okay.
Thank you for the correction.
Okay.
But that was the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. Lisa, did you have a comment?
So it was to move forward with the applications, but also put it up on the website just for public comment and input, because everything can always be amended in the future.
Okay, thank you. So we're taking action on the motion and the second. Is there any other comments on that? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Let me talk about the charter amendment form and process. So this is where there seem to be significant concerns. And it's probably goes beyond just this specific issue, but in this case, it was a working group that was working on this charter application process. And this, I think we all recollect, this has been going on for quite a while. The last changes were not well communicated, and it was posted rather late. And so that's the primary reason that we recommend deferral on that.
But it's also kind of a larger awareness of our processes, as has been mentioned here already. We want to be transparent. We want ready access to and early access to documents and processes that we are working on. And there were also suggestions in our committee meeting that we utilize social media and go beyond just posting it on the website, but emailing things out, being a little more proactive in terms of communicating those sorts of things. And I invited the members of the committee to weigh in on this as well.
Any other comments about that? We don't have, where's Jennifer?
Really just to reemphasize what has been said, that we would like to see, not just as part of our committee's work, but in general, all of the applicable things that are being discussed, whether it's in committee or by the full board, to make sure those are posted as part of our public meetings notifications, just like the state school board does with theirs, or we just want to make sure that that happens, so that, for example, the charter school organizations have a chance to review those and come prepared to meetings.
Okay, thank you. But we're not taking an action. That's just something to discuss and a suggestion for the future. Okay.
So we suggest that we take up that charter amendment form and process in a future meeting.
Thank you. Okay, any other report from your committee meeting?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. I'm the chair of the Performance Oversight Committee. We don't have any action that we'd like to take today. We just went over some schools. We had a good discussion about some of our schools in turnaround, some of our schools on probation, and ways that our staff is helping them, and some things that we can do. It was a really good meeting about just kind of getting into some deeper discussion and deeper study of the schools that we authorized and what we can do to help them going forward. So it was a good meeting, and appreciated the committee coming to that. So again, any comments you have, this is our first go with the committees. Any comments you have about that, either now or offline, as to how that worked, we'd like to know, because it is a new process. Do you have a comment, Delaney?
Yeah, I would like to comment on it. I was fortunate enough to come in at the tail end of the committee that Member Davis chaired, and I couldn't be more thrilled with the process, being able to have time to go deeper into some of the subjects that we don't necessarily have time to do in here. I thought it worked really well. It was nice to have input from the community and from our board members and other members, and I'm very pleased with what I saw in this committee, at least, and I'm happy to move forward with those as needed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Michelle?
I just want to say exactly what Delana said. It seemed like it worked, at least in Member Davis's committee, it's just flawlessly almost. It was really great.
Great. Thank you. We wouldn't have expected less. Nice. We went over, so we can't have those same bragging rights. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. We'll continue with that process, I believe. I think the feedback so far has been good. I think in our committee it was nice to kind of look into a deeper dive into our schools and some of the situations that they're facing. So I appreciated that, and appreciated staff accommodating us in these new committees. So thank you. Okay, we are scheduled for a break. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. Is Franklin here? No, not everybody. Okay. Do you have a time arrival estimate?
1:40. They're in another meeting right now, but I'm trying to get them here earlier. Not sure.
Okay. We'll take a 15-minute break, and hopefully they'll be here. I think they did get a warning that we tend to go a little bit ahead of schedule sometimes, right? Okay. Okay. We'll take a 15-minute break, and we will convene back at 1:25.
you get lunch? I did. I have those snacks. I think you got leftovers. I'll come to 3:30. I'll get them.
So we got 7 of them. How do you remember?
Well, between Elisa and Brittany, it's a challenge. You know, sometimes they just say, just call me Dawn. It's my middle name. Let's have the first and the last.
I am on the state school board, and I do not charter board, so I just come research, but I don't know.
I'm sure if it's over, if we're waiting
For
for nothing.
nothing.
I mean, am I
Well,
gonna get kicked out because this is closed? That's
so
all I want to know.
I would guess what they would do is when they move it closed to make the session and make the motion. Do action. Like, they try to- Well, I heard. Yeah, so are you switching? I mean, I'm not a voting member. Well, they had there was someone that
That's all right.
Yeah, well, I been in DC, and so we just worked. But at the state board side, I'm chair. Because ultimately, they're oversee. But I will not be voting. But I'll be right back.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm here. They were running ahead of schedule, so they took the break. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and they have evidence of that in there.
James? I took the paper that you gave me last time, and I just changed the dates. Is there any way you can make that work?
Yeah, we've actually already checked for this one. And then you'll have
No, I got the check for last time, this is for today.
I'm not sure how, because it doesn't let me enter until the day's passed. So, you just, you amended what, and then put the dates on. Yeah, unfortunately they won't let me. I'll be able to print a new one for the next board meeting.
Okay.
It has to be within the further policy. So,
Okay, all right. Well, what should I do in the future?
in the future, I've just decided that I'll write everybody's travel out for the following meeting because I can't actually complete the form until the meetings happen. And then, so all the board members had it this meeting, but he didn't have it.
I actually would have came right down to move up last night. I couldn't get away, but I'll take this instead of that. Will that be all right?
To do it as your miles? I think so. In the future, we can contact me beforehand and get approval for other steps.
Well, it turned out I just couldn't get away yesterday. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, looking at that 2.1 and how that 2.1 is the public document, or even, I mean, I don't think they're we're not signing up public and then they can also consider their state license. So we saw that way, every school, that kind of fits in. Yes. So, and that allows that 25. Okay. I think that allows them to see that better buffer. Yeah. Yeah, it was that. So, now that understand that. Yeah, that's true. No, it's true. I can see it because that's so we won't see like another thing. That's what it's no, that's fine. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I need to get down
The most important constituency is ours.
well, it's mostly, no, it's mostly the legislation. I got all these
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Okay, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is a Franklin Discovery Academy report. We will go ahead and have Franklin Discovery come up and give us a report of your progress since the last time we met. And we, at some point, may go into executive session. So, but at this point, do you have a public presentation for us? Okay. Come up and introduce yourselves, please.
Jen Price. If you want more into everybody.
Okay. Chris Hatch, Executive Director.
Cindy Bissard on the board. Julie Chacon, board member.
Sam Uri, Business Manager.
Thank you. I'm just going to have Jennifer give us a quick overview of where we are, and then we'll have you present what you'd like to present to us.
In case anyone has forgotten last month, Franklin Discovery Academy is on probation They have been asked to come to each of our board meetings for the length of their probation to come and report. So they are going to report. They have indicated to us that they do have some information that they would like to share that may be of a sensitive nature or about the competency of an individual. And so if a board member on the State Charter School Board would like to go into closed session, you may make that motion so that they can share that information. We did notice that in case to allow you to do that. Trying to think what else to do. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. And I assume you're here with an update of that probation, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to take a quick second first before turning it over to Chris. I'm going to read my statement so I don't mess it up. So I wanted to briefly address the history of Franklin Schools Foundation, FSF, and Franklin Discovery Academy, FDA, because it has seemed to cause a cloud of suspicion over the school and me in particular. I applied for the charter under the name FSF. I wanted a name that would convey a larger organization than just one school because it was always my intent to have at least one other Franklin Discovery. In my view, having a second school successfully running would be the best indicator that the model was successful. I had heard about schools faltering when their original board left. I wanted a second school to show how the model was not about me or Gil or anyone else on the board personally. In fact, we applied for a second school in our charter. The best thing this board did for us that year, however, was telling us no and to just concentrate on this one. Coming from the BYU administrative background that I did and with my MBA experience, I wanted to set up FSF in a way that provided service support units to the core of the school in the hopes the director could focus only on the important things related to building the mission and vision of the school. These supports would not only help the first director concentrate on building the core of the school, the teaching staff, the culture, and the program, but would be available to support a second, third, or fourth school. My plan was to have a variety of LLCs owned by the overarching nonprofit FSF, the same nonprofit that would own the school. Some of the support LLCs were the preschool, facility maintenance services, curriculum development, a field trip organization, the parent organization, the FSO, and business management. I am a dreamer. I had grand visions that some of these LLCs could make additional revenue for the school as part of the nonprofit. Since the LLCs were owned by the nonprofit, any excess revenue would go to the benefit of the school. For instance, I had some plans to develop part of the curriculum used at the school. I felt this curriculum would be valuable and could be sold to others. Profits from these sales could be used to augment the school's budget. At BYU, I had pitched and started an organization with a similar model and was able to reduce textbook expenses for students by doing it. Some of the FSF LLCs got off the ground and others didn't. I never did get the curriculum piece done, and so the school purchased the online curriculum instead. It's important to note that this was not the entire curricular piece for the school. Our curriculum is composed of 3 areas: Engage Labs, Foundations, and STEM Rec JPI. The master teachers have done a fabulous job from day one with the Engage curriculum. We also have great things going on in the STEM Rec and JPI areas. Because I didn't get done with the curriculum I intended to make for Foundations, we bought several off-the-shelf programs. It's important to note that no money went to this curriculum LLC. Actually, I never even registered it as an LLC or opened up bank accounts for it. It is still my dream to be able to develop this online part of the curriculum, let the school use it, and sell it to outsiders in order to generate my thing just left, in order to generate extra revenue. Where's my computer? My thing just died.
Just go. Just keep going.
I apologize. And now where was I? I never registered the LLC or opened the bank accounts for it. It is still my dream to be able to develop this curriculum, let the school use it, and sell it to outsiders in order to generate extra money for our students. The LLCs that did get going were the preschool, the FSO, IT services, and facility maintenance services. Only direct, documented dollar-for-dollar expenses are billed for from FSF to FDA without any markup or overhead. Because the school canceled its field trip budget, we postponed the field trip LLC. We operated under this plan for about 8 months during our planning year. During a meeting with Charter Solutions, they felt that the LLCs being owned by the same overarching nonprofit as the school was not enough to prevent those LLCs from falling under state accounting rules. They felt any money collected for the preschool through a parent's tuition could be required to be handed over to the K-6 program. Obviously, if we collect tuition to provide preschool, we need to be able to use those funds to provide the preschool services. After considerable discussion in May of 2016, it was determined that the best route to go was to split the school off from the foundation and make it its own nonprofit. We decided the school would split off and not the other LLCs would split off because the corporate name of Franklin Schools Foundation had been confusing to parents with fundraising, and so we wanted the school's corporate name to match its business name. At the same time, we were working with Marlise Burns, former director Marlise Burns, to execute our charter agreement. She, along with David Thomas, came to our June board meeting. We said how we needed to split the school off to a new corporation, and could our charter agreement be in the new corporate name rather than FSF. Director Burns said we could do that with the charter agreement since that was all being negotiated right then, and that by doing so we wouldn't need to do a later charter amendment for the name. Director Burns said to simply add to the top of the agreement the new corporate name we wanted. Assistant Attorney General Thomas reminded us that we would have to start over on all the setup requirements of a new corporation, such as getting a new EIN, new 501c3 status, etc., which we acknowledged. We officially split on July 1, 2016, since that was the start of the new fiscal year. We wrote a check from FSF to FDA for the bulk of the remaining funds from planning year. Our auditor recommended we book the big balance transfer as a donation from FSF to FDA. We've recently found out that one of the issues of concern 3 weeks ago was that because the finance people didn't see this money as a beginning bank balance, they thought it was missing. It actually wasn't missing, but on a different line on the general ledger. We are still working with an accountant to determine if it should be accounted for differently. There were a few items that we had to credit and debit back and forth that weren't completed by the July 1 date. Since up until July 1, there was only one corporation. I was the only board chair to that point. Since then, I've recruited a separate board for FSF, and I no longer sit on that board. I have never and will continue to never take any salary from either corporation. My zero salary, along with greater detail about the school being the beneficiary of any profits made by the LLCs under FSF, has been added as an addendum on the FSF service agreement. I'd be happy to answer any other questions about the FSF-FDA relationship, but before I do that, I have two other quick things for you. One is unrelated to this, but we just wanted to I wanted to let you know that I received a grandma request and that we have complied as best we can with that grandma request without getting further legal counsel on what we can exclude as far as privacy of names go. And then the second thing, I just wanted to let you know we complied with it because he sent it using the official state form and I couldn't get it to work, so I just complied with it manually through email. But the second thing was I've met with Natalie Grange and Scott Jones, sorry, on the FSF financial question. And after explaining to her the split, the relationship between the two, she's further indicated to me exactly what, because I wasn't sure based on the letter what exactly was needed for the documentation. I do have that understanding now of what she wants for FSF through the split on July 1. But I wanted to ask if in the current probation document it lists March 31st as the deadline for that, but to see if we could have till April 20th because all accountants are busy right now with taxes. And so if we could have till 5 days after tax season, that would be very helpful. But we can, I guess, address that during question and answer, and I want to hand it off to Chris now.
Okay. So I want to take a moment and just generally in an overview talk about what we've been doing at Franklin Discovery Academy in the last month. We've been busy, I think is an understatement, but we've been hard at work as evidenced by the 500-plus page report you received last week. Won't go into details about a lot of that, but I do want to hit the big areas and just highlight what we've been doing. So the first area that was addressed in our probation letter was the health, safety, and welfare of students. So first of all in there, we've had our inspectors come in, so had the fire marshal, had our risk management assessor, and also the health department. We've passed all those inspections, and school was deemed safe. There were some best practice things that they mentioned to us to improve and work on, and we've done that as well and taken their recommendations. Also, we've had staff trainings. So listed in there was child abuse training, Title IX training. Our staff and board has gone through the child abuse training. In addition, we did some online trainings with bullying, cyberbullying, and child abuse as well. Also, we did our emergency drill, the fire drill, which was listed in there this month. I know Armando was present for that one. I feel it went pretty well, had all students out of the building in less than 3 minutes and accounted for in less than 5 with the attendance taken. So we will continue to do that. And I don't know if right now I can ask a follow-up question on that, but is that okay to ask a question at the moment or just wait? Okay, so on those, the emergency drills, if they haven't been done in the past with the previous directors, do we need to catch up and do 8 in a year or just do from here on out once a month?
We'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
That's a detail that I'm not quite sure on.
Okay. So.
They want to know if they were supposed to do 8 fire drills throughout the year. They just did their first this month. And so do they need to do 8 before the end of the school year or 1 a month until the end of the school year? Okay.
So from here on, just at least once a month and doing more possible. Okay. Okay, so continuing with the health, safety and welfare of students. We've also set up more systems and processes, and I think that's a lot of this is setting up our systems and processes in our building with attendance. So we've had a check-in, check-out process due to the nature of our school. If you're not familiar, students are allowed to check in and come to the building at different times, leave at different times based on parent choice. So they check in with their homerooms, they check out in the homerooms. Also, with the transitions was an area that was specifically mentioned, so we made a transition plan with our staff. And the nuts and bolts of that is we have our academic coaches and mentor teachers forming lines in the room when they leave, and even in STEM rec area, forming lines, the academic coaches, mentor teachers, walking them to their general areas, also staying in the hallways for supervision, guiding kids to where they need to be. On top of that, once they get into class, similar to a middle school, high school model, the teachers are taking attendance once the students arrive in the room. If there was a student that was confused and just went to the wrong location, they jot the name down, they notify the office, and we have someone designated to do this. We'll find out where the kid is, get them to the class. So this has been very helpful. Craig Frank from Utah Charter Network has been doing schedule audits for the last 3 or 4 weeks with this, looking at the schedule, where's the kid supposed to be, goes down, looks for him and finds him, and this has proven effective thus far. So we're getting our kids where they are supposed to be, and they are in the correct classes. So we can look for it streamlining by finding a software that does everything we want it to. We're still in the pursuit of that, but effectiveness is in place with this new system and process. So that's the biggies with health, safety, and welfare of students. Next one was with special education. So we also begin our work there with our mentor, and that's gone well. We're learning a lot. We're making improvements. Again, started by reviewing every single student's IEP and also just meeting all the requirements in the outline of the probation letter and the CAP letter. We've also had some personnel changes there without naming names, but we do have someone there who's very qualified, has worked in self-contained units for about 20 years, and we've decided to make him full-time down there with staff, so to help out with what we need to do during this time. We've also had another new SPED person hired that is competent and hard worker, get the job done. So I feel very confident with our new staff members in the SPED department that they can do what needs to be done and meet the requirements mentioned in the CAP letter and in our probation. We also have a SPED meeting set up for our parents on Tuesday night from 6 to 8, which was one of the requirements, and that's ready to go. And also a child find training set up for April 5th for our staff as well. So that's a little background on the SPED area. School governance was another area listed. So at the last board meeting, we adopted quite a few policies. Just to name a few, the bullying policy was already in place. We reviewed it just to make sure it did meet everything it needed to, and that was re-adopted. We also adjusted the discipline policy as well and made some tweaks there to what we would fit better, and that was adopted by the board. Also adopted a social media policy. How to board presence at the school policy. They discussed that and adopted a policy on that as well. And also, just as an update, board training has started, but will continue to happen as well. Next area, last one before I turn it over finances for Sam, but is curriculum and instruction. So I'll start with STEM Rec. We started this week already with stations and activities that are tied to our 7 content areas. So this was an area of concern, but we moved one of our staff members to be a lead there who has quite a bit of experience in that type of environment. And so she is coming up with activities and stations that are connected to our content areas and connected to the standards. So while kids are in that area, they are working on those. Also just cleaned house a little bit and took out some furniture, made it look nicer. And I know a few of you have been down here and noticed that. And then I just want to talk about curriculum in general, just short-term and long-term, what we're looking at. So Rebecca's with us the other day, ran this by her, and she kind of gave me the thumbs up on this one. But for the rest of the year, we've been using iReady for literacy and math, and we can continue doing that, but what we've also done is look through, kind of compared the standards to what iReady addresses and where the weak spots are. So one of those we've recognized as a weak spot is writing. So in our homerooms, that's an area we're going to set up writing time, and the teachers are going to take over that and address writing in the homeroom area. And also with iReady is looking at the data, so teachers can continually do that on a weekly basis. If they notice a student is struggling with a certain concept or standard, they can pull them one-on-one, assign their academic coach to work with them, and they can also do small group instruction with that. So we recognize that even before all this happened, and we're in the process of getting that rolling as well. So we're going to continue with that. In the area of science, we're going to use the OER science textbooks and activities from UEN, and we're also going to do that in the homerooms in addition to the IXL program that we had. So the IXL will become more supplementary now, and in the homeroom we'll be using the OER science textbooks. And then long term, we are looking for a completely developed online curriculum such as K-12 or Compass Learning, and I'm in the process of contacting them to obtain quotes and also evaluate what fits our model the best. So looking forward to next year, that's our plan, is to find one of those, so we do have the full outline curriculum ready to go, but also looking for one that fits our model of having our master teachers give input and additional resources that they feel would really help the kids learn the material as well. And I guess financial-wise, I'll turn it over to Sam to give a short report there. Is that one on?
Oh, it is on. Okay. So quickly, just trying to address some of the items. I have worked with a CPA. Her name is Sarah Hexberg. She's the Vice President of Accounting Policy at Goldman Sachs, to review our segregation of duties and cash handling procedures, and I have never been a signatory on any of our bank accounts, but we have appropriate cash handling procedures, and we're making sure that all funds are going where they're supposed to go. I've been very busy updating our Intact accounting system. All bank accounts and credit card accounts are reconciled through the end of February, and left to finish before the March 31 deadline. I hope to have finished this weekend, or just a few payroll journals to get the general ledger complete. At that point, I'll work with some others to go through an audit, but everything is there, and like I say, those bank accounts have been reconciled. Program accounting is being done, and if there is something that's in the wrong program, it's very easy for me to correct that. Our cash flow is sufficient through the end of this year. We have met with our landlord, and we feel very confident that we'll have sufficient cash flow through the end of the year, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Dean. Member Bradbury.
Fine. Thank you, and thank you for being here. I had a couple of questions. I think some of them, probably one or two from each of you. Ms. Price, did I understand correctly? You had said that none of the curriculum, and I don't know whether it's that you developed or Curriculum LLC developed, was ever sold to the school?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. And so there was never any payment to you for curriculum
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
And as I mentioned, what the dream was to make it, I never made it, so there was no payment. It was just going to be a small portion. I mean, our master teachers have been developing curriculum all along. Just that one online portion that was where my background was from, in training and education.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I applaud your question to us, and I don't know that we will give an official answer on the delay on one of the items. I just want to make an editorial comment. I would so much rather have you come to us a week before it's due and say, it's going to be really hard for us to meet this date. Are we okay if we make that on the 20th instead of the 31st? And I can't speak for the board, but I would much rather have you come today and say that rather than on the 5th of April saying we missed the deadline. So thank you for keeping an eye on those deadlines. They're very serious. I appreciate that. You had referenced a board meeting, at least one board meeting, and another one coming up. Can you confirm for us that those are being adequately noticed and that minutes are prepared and posted when appropriate and such for the public to see?
Yes. Yeah, everything's been on the open meeting website and posted at our building and on our website.
Okay, thank you. And then you had referenced consulting with a CPA with Goldman Sachs. So is this somebody that's on your board, or
she's a parent at the school?
It's a parent who's assisting you. You're not hiring Goldman Sachs.
No,
you're working with a parent. I just wanted to clarify that.
She's on a completely volunteer basis.
Okay.
Been assisting.
Assisting with that. So. Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members?
Okay, I'll ask.
We have been asked, there's a couple of things we need to take care of. We have been asked to approve their mentor. And then we've also had a request from Franklin to go into executive session. Closed session. What did I call it? Oh, executive. Closed session.
We have one.
Should we? I had made that request, but I didn't end up. I don't know that that's necessary, unless you want it to be. We were going to talk more about previous people and some things that got reported in the news inaccurately, but I don't know if we want to do that.
Is there any reason any board members or any staff would like to go into executive session? Okay.
Well, let me ask. So I think at our last meeting, if I recall, where we took the action, I think I asked for clarification as to, without referencing any specific individuals, we asked for clarification on what exactly occurred on some of the allegations that were made. And my recollection is that you clarified some things, again, without discussing any names. Is there anything new that you have not already clarified with us at that meeting?
Can't remember.
And maybe you don't remember.
Well, no, I think, we would like, I guess we'll leave our request in place that going into closed session would be useful.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members or staff? Delana.
I have a question. Can you clarify your structure? Where did you get the legal assistance to come up with all of your different entities?
Just my own business background. I've started and sold a few businesses, and
did you have an attorney that helped set those up, or?
I didn't. And so part of this is having an attorney look at it now.
And so you've retained counsel for this then? Okay. And can you talk about the structure? When I looked at the different organizations, it looked like it was the same people who were running all of the different entities. So you've got a foundation that's composed of the same board members that are the board members for the school and doing different tasks. Can you speak to that and if what the separation is going to look like?
Frank was kind enough, or Craig, sorry, Craig Frank was kind enough to make this little chart here. As I mentioned, the history, was it originally was all together, and so there wasn't a need for two different boards at that time. So I was the one who set it all up under one board. When the split happened, I was already here, and this original board was the same board as here, because this is where it was most logical to make the new corporation. So then this is where then I left from. But I couldn't go back in time and remove myself from here originally, because I did set it up originally.
Okay, so let me clarify.
Yeah, sorry.
What titles do you hold right now in regards to, what titles do you hold right now in regards to all of these entities?
So I am chair of the Franklin Discovery Academy Vineyard Governing Board, and I help out where needed, so I'm a volunteer also. But I have no official title here.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So can you clarify, your current role is the board chair of Franklin Discovery Academy Vineyard. Do you still maintain an office in the school? And do any other board members still maintain an office in the school?
The office that I've had stuff in was always designated as the curriculum office. And so I was trying to help with curriculum, and I still have stuff that I haven't removed. The office is used by several different people besides myself. If I happen to be there, I might sit at the desk. I think I've sat at the desk for an hour this week.
So as you're the board chair, what is your role in the day-to-day operations of the school? How much time do you currently spend at the school? How much time do other board members spend at the school? And what do you do while you're there?
So one of our bylaw requirements is that every board member teach one of the Engage classes.
So you're teaching at the school?
To teach an Engage class, so one of our enrichment classes.
Are you Cactus certified?
No. Okay. So these are enrichment classes. I'm not a teacher of record for any student. And so before this happened 3 weeks ago, I was already scheduled to teach a yearbook class. So Tuesdays and Thursdays for 45 minutes on Tuesday and 45 minutes on Thursday, I've been teaching third graders a yearbook class. And
So are you supervised by a mentoring teacher in that capacity, and other board members, are they similarly?
It would be under the master teachers, not the mentoring teachers.
Okay.
In terms of the model of the school.
I'm just a little confused because it seems like that would lead to some very awkward structural problems when you have board members teaching and at the same time being supervised by the teachers who they evaluate and are responsible for their compensation.
It's something we can revisit. It was in our charter right at the very beginning. I'm not saying that makes it good or bad. It's never been pointed out before this point. It was in our charter that we wanted the board members really engaged in the Engage program. And so we had put that as a requirement for them to each teach a class once a year. But
So I don't know if I'm alone, but I hope as a board we might consider changing that structure since it seems fairly problematic.
That is in their bylaws. Can you send the board a copy of that at some point?
A copy of the school's bylaws?
That specifically talks about board members teaching classes.
Yes, I'll send. I know that the school has recently amended their bylaws. The original bylaws were that they submitted with their application was for the Franklin Schools Foundation. We have those bylaws. The most recent bylaws, we don't have the copy of the ones that they've changed other than what's on their website.
Could you provide that?
Sure.
To us?
Yeah. And I'd also just mention it's in our goal was with the Engage, those enrichment classes was to utilize the skill and expertise of everyone. You know, if somebody happened to have a passion for gardening that they would, and so it's in our charter, we put a requirement that every employee, not just, you know, even Chris as director, would teach an Engage class once a year because we wanted to have the kids benefit from all of the collective experience of that. So it was a requirement of all employees and board members.
And that wasn't changed in your updated bylaws?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Can we,
Member Broadbank?
So, what is an enrichment? I mean, I've taught classes at Jordan High School, at Eastmont Middle School, and Park Lane Elementary School, and I'm not a licensed teacher. These have not been classes where anyone's received any credit, I don't think, but these have been about career day and those kinds of things. Can you help me understand the nature of this as opposed to what it is and what it isn't?
Yeah, so for us, how we always described it was things that people had a hobby and were interested in, and like the gardening. We used our former director as an example because he liked bicycle riding, that he would teach a bicycle safety class. I have done a lot of graphic design stuff, so that's why I chose to teach a yearbook class, that they'd be those kind of, you know, not a straight math class, not the literacy class or science.
I mean, this seems to me like the thing we want to encourage. I mean, I would love to hear from staff at some point whether these are the kinds of classes where there would be a need to have Cactus certification as opposed to.
So
I would certainly love to hear, Dr.
We want to, I failed to mention that we have Superintendent Dixon here with us. Thank you for being here.
I felt so offended that was not mentioned.
I'll say it before you speak.
It's always a pleasure to be with you all.
Thank you.
I think what you're describing, Member Brockbank, is really guest teaching. And we want to encourage that, and we have that throughout our system of guest teaching. Parents, board members, police officers, legislators, you know, anybody can pop in and assist in teaching a course. I think getting to the issue, as I heard it, and I apologize if I misheard it, but I think I heard you say that you, for example, teach classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So while it's an enrichment topic, that it's more frequent, it's a consistent course that you might be teaching under the supervision of a master teacher whom you also supervise. So that positional power makes it awkward if you have a master teacher who is a teacher of record supervising you. I think that was the concern. And the frequency, is it a regular class? Is it, a semester or 8 weeks? Or is it what Member Brockbank described that's more of what we would call guest teaching?
How long, I'm just curious how long guest teaching is allowed for? In my case, it's a block. It's a 6-week block that I was scheduled to teach for this class, not the whole year or anything.
I mean, would the intention not be that guest teachers are, I would say, sporadic rather than regular? And what I'm hearing from you sounds regular to me. And just to clarify, I'm not opposed in any way to having parents or board members or community experts teaching classes. My concern is exactly what you expressed, where you have someone who is teaching under the supervision of someone who they also supervise. That's problematic.
Chair Lankowski, if I can follow up with that. I see two issues with it. One is the governance issue that's been described, and the second is the academic issue. You have a certain amount of time during the day, and with your drop-off and pickup times, that's somewhat reduced for some of the students. And I agree with what Member Smith said, that those enrichment classes, fantastic that you have those. How are you also making sure that you get all of the academic pieces in, the reading, writing, and all of the things that the students have to be able to know how to do in order to move on to subsequent grade levels, and how are you assessing that?
These enrichment classes are part of the overall program, and so they all fall into one of our 7 areas. And so my class, for instance, they're doing a lot of writing, so it's falling under the literacy area, but it's an enrichment literacy class, it doesn't supplant their primary literacy class. And in their day, they have a set amount of time that they can choose from these enrichment classes. And we don't, so it's limited. They don't get to just take 8 of these classes and forget everything else. And so the assessing is still happening in literacy, in their regular literacy class, in their regular science classes, and so on.
And also in the homerooms as well, they're hitting literacy and math every day, so getting those.
Can I ask one more question? So I'm concerned from anecdotal reports about student progress. Can you explain to me how you are assessing student mastery of the Utah State Core?
Sure. So one of them we have obviously the DIBELS testing and DAYS testing, but also with iReady that does provide progress monitoring. So we have the diagnostic at the beginning of the year, and every so often it does growth monitoring as part of the program. With that, and then they'll do a diagnostic again. So throughout that whole process of iReady, it is giving diagnostics and seeing the students' growth and charting that. And it gives a report that'll let us know, are students on target to hit the level they need or not.
Can you provide us data on student growth?
We can provide it. I think
it would be very helpful, I think, to us as a board to see that students are in fact progressing, because anecdotal reports
it should be in the report.
Not reassuring.
It should be in the report. It's in that report.
Michelle, yes. If you look at your
but we can also provide more.
There is some, there's a table and some information from their iReady and their IXL.
But if you want, we can provide more data as well.
Okay, thank you.
I think it comes back to a larger governance issue that I know that you are aware of, that we're concerned of. Just understanding the role of governance versus management. And, I know your mentors are aware of that. And, I just think there needs to be some more separation that would make us feel comfortable as a board. And some of that information would be helpful. Dr. Dixon, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just this, I think, speaks to the minutes where you have the chart. This is on iReady Math and iReady Reading. So you mentioned that that's happening every day. In this chart, it shows students that had 0 reading minutes in math. So is there, I guess this is a question, if I may. Well, we don't exactly dictate what that looks like in every school, nor would we want to do that. Certainly, there are some guardrails and guidelines for literacy and math instruction every day. My question really, more than a comment, is you're using digital materials with iReady. Are they augmented by any other instruction intervention when a student's struggling, or
Yeah,
I didn't see that in any of your documentation.
So yeah, that is in our plan, especially if they're struggling, as mentioned earlier. The teacher may pull them off of the computer for a day or two and do the individual instruction or the small group instruction, or the academic coach, kind of like a tutor, is helping that person out. And we'll get to there. But also, I lost my train of thought on that. But so in our Engage classes as well, because we do have kind of a tiered curriculum there. So they have the homerooms where they're hitting iReady as part of it, and the pullouts are part of that, but also in the literacy classes. So our in Literacy Engage class, they're also getting literacy instruction as well. So there's different parts of the day where they're getting those different aspects in there. I'm trying to think of my other thought in the homeroom. Oh, also, they have a once-a-week conference with their mentor teachers in that, and I know a lot of the mentor teachers during that time, whatever the students are struggling with, they meet one-on-one, and they'll actually work one-on-one with those students and around things they're struggling with. So I know some mentor teachers have been working on reading instruction. Some have been doing writing instruction as well. So yes, to answer your question, there is other avenues besides the digital curriculum. Digital is kind of the start, and then from there differentiate based on how they're doing.
Did it get to what you were looking for? Okay. It was your question. Make sure it got answered. Vice Chair Tonks had a question, and then we'll go to you, Lisa.
So in regards to your financial reporting, I'm just wondering, maybe either Superintendent Dixon or Natalie Grange, I know that there is a very strict timeline for reporting, and while I support what Member Brockbank said about coming ahead of time and asking for the request, it may not be possible to grant that because of the reporting requirements at the state level. I don't know what those are, and I would seek further clarification from staff for that.
Can I clarify the request, because it doesn't have to do with current reporting that Sam is working on. There are two different reports that are due. One is from Franklin Discovery Academy Vineyard, and that's what Sam is working on, and he's up to date on those reports. The second is that Natalie requested that we provide kind of a redo of our books for Franklin Schools Foundation of the planning year. So those books had already been completed, submitted, audited, and it's what I asked her was on that, just on that part of it, to be able to go back and line by line go through those books over again by April 20th. But there's no deadline outstanding as far as the state goes for those, since that year's closed already.
So I'd again look to staff for direction on that, either Ms. Grange or Superintendent Dixon.
We could ask Assistant Superintendent Grange to come to the table. I believe the request was for both. And
no, I only made the request for the one, for the Franklin Schools Foundation planning year books.
So if I could speak to the timeline a little bit, I think the concern is just making sure that we have the appropriate records, and the state school board meets as a full board in May. So in order to, if there were any funds that needed to be recouped or anything that the board would need to act on, we would need those ahead of time to be able to take action in May. So that would be that would be one concern. But Assistant Superintendent Grange could speak to the requests.
I believe that the direction in the letter was for both. So in order for us to analyze the activity of the school since its inception, we need both, if you will, by that March deadline. So it would need all the records from the previous foundation or wherever the files were, or the accounting records were for the charter revolving loan and the startup grant, the transfer up to the new entity, as we had discussed, and then the current up-to-date of your current year activities. So while you're correct, they're not actually due until fiscal year end, your corrective action letter asks for both pieces. We want the complete activity of the school since its inception.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Has any parents opted out of the iReady, and is that included in your calculations of what students take the test as opposed to, just needed paper help? Has
of the-
anybody opted out of the iReady?
Not that I'm aware of.
No?
No,
Okay.
not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you.
So as a follow-up, if no one has opted out of iReady, then why are there so many students, an enormously high percentage of students with 0 math minutes for a week and 0 reading minutes for the week? And what happens when a student has that, since Utah reading instruction and math instruction is supposed to be at least 180 minutes per week and typically 225 minutes per week? Also questioning why the average is so low at 33 minutes, or sorry, 25. Average is 33 minutes, median is 25 minutes in each of those, which is far below Utah standard.
So I'm Julie, I'm on the board, and kind of going back to a couple questions ago, I also help out with IT in the school. So I can't speak to the Engage classes, I'm not a teacher on that, but they are getting their math instruction also. Every student is in a math class in Engage. So part of that report is my fault, to be honest. When we started the school, I uploaded all the student files on there, so they all got username and password, so day one they could get to work. I included kindergarten because I just did a mass download from Aspire and moved it up, so we had all of our students. And kindergarten does not use iReady, and so their data is in there. I have since gone back and pulled it, but there's no way. The day I pulled it off, which was after we got the letter from the probation letter, there's no way to go back in time and say these students really didn't exist 4 weeks ago. Since teachers only looked at the reports for their students, it wasn't an issue because the teacher could pull up for their class and see their students. So that was my mistake and has been corrected. So I can, again, submit for next week, and that'll show those students off record. Additionally, we did have some students that are not attending the school, but have not officially withdrawn, and we're in that process. And until they're officially off Aspire, we're obviously not going to delete them off our system. So if they were absent for a week, they still are going to be on our system. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I question seriously, though, the number of minutes. And then the other question that I have is, this is not showing student growth. This doesn't demonstrate proficiency. This just demonstrates some minutes of instruction. So
I don't know. I think it made it in there. There's another page that goes in per student. Did that get put in there? I gave some examples of reports.
So we didn't give you, we've received a lot of documentation. We tried to summarize that. We can give you, if you want to get into the details, we can provide you what the school has provided. We just didn't want to make the binders, this thick, so.
Sure. So what the report shows, and it does this for every student, and the teachers have access to this, is it says the student started at 3rd grade math. This is all the assignments they've done, what their scores are, and it even includes which Utah standards it connects with, and shows that growth over time. I didn't want to send you all students because that would be insane. I can, if you want me to, I'd be happy to I can do it, pull it today and send it to you, or tomorrow, that's fine. But included in that 500 pages were examples of what the teachers use to make sure their kids are being monitored correctly. Additionally, we did have at least 2 students that the teachers requested, because they were so high functioning in 6th grade, that they've passed the curriculum, that they wanted to have something a little different. And we are monitoring that with a different piece of software that better fit the needs of those students. They're still doing the literacy, no, it's the math, it was the literacy. They're already reading an 8th grade level.
So yeah, I mean, we have the same. We have the same interest at heart, which is we want to see students progressing. And so it would be really useful for us to see the data that shows that students are progressing.
I'd be happy to provide that.
At least I would feel much better
Send it to the same person I sent the other stuff to, or someone else?
You can send it to
And could I also add that one of the important things to remember on the minutes is their Engage minutes, that they aren't, the online component of their day is 1/3 of their day. And so if they're only showing 40 minutes in a week on math or something, they still have a lot of minutes in their Engage classes.
But the Engage classes are not the ones that are taught by non-certified teachers.
The engaged classes are taught, but all of them.
All the core are taught by master teachers with licenses.
And master's degrees. Yeah.
And master's degrees.
Okay, thank you. We're a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to need to wrap up. The one action that we do need to take is approving or not approving their mentor. If you all got that information and read it, it's Utah Charter Networks. I'm looking for a motion or a discussion.
I move that we approve Utah Charter Network as the mentor for Franklin Discovery Academy.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Seconded.
Okay, Bruce made the motion and Dean seconded it. And I'm just calling everyone by their first names. Is anyone offended by that?
I'm offended.
You can call me by my first name, too. Okay. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries. So your mentor has been approved, and thank you for the report. Obviously, this is going to be ongoing, and there's more information that we're going to want and need from you. But thank you for coming today, and thank you for that update. We appreciate it.
Can we ask one clarifying question on one of the items?
Sure.
Before we go. So number 53 states, by June 15, 2017, assess students using a valid and reliable recognized exam aligned with the Utah course standards showing students either proficient at grade level or having at least a year of academic growth. So the clarification is there, are we expected to hit 100% of our students at grade level or academic growth? Because to my knowledge, I don't know of a school that does that.
Okay. Our Executive Director, Jennifer Lambert, will answer that.
So no school in the state has 100% proficiency
Okay.
if you're looking at, but you need to, it needs to show good data. And we also, if you're using SAGE, you need to have decent participation, good participation rates, so that what we're looking here is we're looking to see if the model is working. And so we want to have some objective evidence to be able to show that students are learning and either that they're proficient or growth. I would expect to see high numbers since it's an or there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We want to also welcome Deputy Superintendent Stallings. Thank you for joining us. Okay, the next item on the agenda, and I apologize, we got a little behind. We got a letter from American Preparatory Academy Governing Board, and we are going to have staff give us kind of an update of that letter, and then we'll have a discussion as a board. Is that you or David? Okay, Jennifer, our Executive Director, Jennifer Lambert, will start.
But I'm just going to pass it off pretty quickly. So the board is aware. We did notice a possible closed session if you do wish to go into that, discussing, what's the term, eminent or possible or pending litigation.
Pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
There you go. That's the word. And so if you do want to go into that at some point, we did notice it. You do not have to, just like with the Franklin discussion. But I'm going to turn it to David now.
This has obviously been a long, ongoing process, so David's going to, as quickly as a lawyer can, give us a summary.
You're challenging my ability to be brief. As the board will recall, this matter came before the board some time ago, and the question was, because of the situation that had been described by APA and the need for, their suggestion is that because of a recent ruling, at least recent at that time, a ruling by Judge Chon that the APA school did not have eminent domain authority, that and there was at least it was reported that there was an observation that it might be another board such as the State Charter School Board that they came and requested that we exercise eminent domain authority on their behalf.
A resolution was passed by this board, and as part of that, there were 5 questions or 6 questions that were asked as the matter was referred to staff for further analysis and recommendation. And we have tried to keep the board updated as to additional matters that had been ongoing and where those stood. And now we have the additional letter, which APA has come back, and again, because of not only the prior matters, but also because of the development of their high school, they're looking again at the issue of access and the use of eminent domain to acquire that access. How's that for being brief?
That was very brief. Any discussion or questions for David or of staff, or discussion amongst the board?
I have a question, Chair. So I don't remember if it was one of the specific 5 items that we asked for, but this board had requested from the Attorney General's office a legal opinion concerning our board's authority to exercise eminent domain. As far as I think we all know, this board has never done so, and it was a case of first impression that we were hoping to get some legal guidance. Can you give us the status of that? Because I don't think we've seen that yet.
From what I've understood is that that request was made. I did make a request for a legal opinion from the State Attorney General's office. There are only a certain number of agencies that can request such a, or have the legal precedent to require the request for a legal opinion. Our board is not one. The State Board of Education also made a request for a legal opinion concerning eminent domain. They are a board which can require and can request such an opinion. The Attorney General's office, Chris Lacombe, who was representing the board, the State Board of Education at the time, prepared a draft opinion that was discussed with leadership, and so that at least in part that kind of direction came down from the Attorney General's office with regard to the issue of eminent domain.
So I'll take that. I'm not sure exactly how to interpret that. So it sounds like this board doesn't have the statutory ability, or the Attorney General's office doesn't have the statutory requirement to provide us with a legal opinion?
That's correct.
So we've waited about 1.5 years for that, but it sounds like we're never going to get that.
Well, the direction did come down from the Attorney General's office too, in response to the State Board of Education's request, and my understanding was that leadership between the State Charter School Board and the State Board of Education had discussed that legal opinion, or at least at least an unofficial. So nothing official has come down from the AG's office, even though they were trying to be responsive to those requests.
Thank you.
Do we know what the nature of the content of that letter was?
I understand that leadership, and that would be prior leadership, was aware of and had those discussions, yes.
Any other questions? Any other questions or discussion from board members? Does anyone want to make the motion to go into closed session? Do you feel like we have enough information to move forward?
I move that we go into executive session so that we can discuss wrong one, possible, let's see, for the purpose of discussing pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we need to take a vote individually. I would make one suggestion that it's only voting board members that go into this closed session, just because of the sensitivity of it and because of pending litigation. I would say our staff and voting board members only go, and not because we don't really like all of you. It's just been suggested to me, and I think it's probably good advice. So, but we will vote on that individually. Bruce?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Delana?
Yes.
And Greg?
Yes.
And yes, I choose to go into closed session. So we apologize. We'll have to ask all of you to leave now. We're going to go into closed session. If we make any motion, we cannot take any votes in closed session. If there's any motion or votes, it will be after we come out of closed session. He's walking out the door.
Hello.
So get your turn.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. You didn't think I was going to eavesdrop.
Just to be clear.
Can you speak a little louder and a little clearer? I don't understand what you're saying. Okay. 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 I don't.
Does that mean it's gonna, that's getting serious?
Thank you.
I already told him.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, that's what he told me he was gonna do. Yeah. And you're actually, sir?
Everyone's going to be lying.
This is Greg. Hey, Dan, I'm in a school board meeting, but I just got a call from ADT. You've got a burglar alarm at your home.
I just found out.
I don't know why they call me, not you, but anyway.
I guess they say if we just put it in their like.
Okay. All right. Let me know if you're dead or something. All right, bye. Bye.
Okay, so they're not good.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I hope not. I was hoping one site for this would be way out to the
This is my favorite. This is the one that I want to say. So I'm thinking this a little different than
David, my hands are really cold.
They are. I know that.
I'm freezing.
How you doing? Yeah.
This room's not warm enough for me. How do you wear warm clothes?
How you doing? I didn't get to.
All the mics off.
Yeah. This is so much fun. Dean was just saying this would be like the